Now, just like many workplaces, job interviews are also going quite casual and informal. Instead of structured, formal interviews in the boardroom, hiring managers are now beginning with low-key, informal conversations. And the most common of these is over coffee, as people put it. And that has evolved a little bit during COVID, where we're doing these things on Zoom and Teams. But we'll definitely be back in the coffee shops in the near future, having these kind of meetings. Now, coffee meetings are a low-risk way of meeting new people in a business environment. And it's to swap advice and lay the foundation, potentially for a more substantial relationship. And it's exactly the same with informal coffee interviews. These are actually business meetings, and they're a great platform for an exploratory chat where the bar is set pretty low. And it's still an interview for sure, but it allows kind of both sides to sort of thrash things out a little bit before proceeding down a more formal route. And it's also an ideal opportunity to see if there's kind of sufficient overlap in areas like cultural fit and character fit, which are critical for clients and for job seekers. So for an employer, a coffee interview is a great way to kind of formulate the exact structure of a vacancy. You can, if you're looking for an analyst, for example, you can actually take guidance from people who are doing that job already and kind of meet a few people who do that job, and it'll help you formulate what you're looking for. Boutique firms typically have a key requirement when it's hiring, and then kind of usually components that are bolted onto the job that's, particularly in a small firm where you need to justify the expense perhaps of a permanent appointment. So meeting a couple of candidates allows employers to really flesh out the exact responsibilities and the expectations of a role. But you must remember, though, that each candidate is giving up valuable time. Each person you have coffee with is giving up their valuable time and often providing free advice, frankly. And the exchange being that when you are ready to start a formal interview process, this candidate expects to get a call. Now, in South Africa, we're very much heading down this road of informal coffee chats. And I can tell you countless employer candidate introductions that started with, let's grab a coffee and ended in a successful appointment. What is really critical as a hiring manager and the employer is preparing for a coffee interview. Now, you think you might just pitch up, kind of park your car, bolt into the coffee shop and start to chat. Now, you actually need to have a very clear purpose of what the meeting is. And it's kind of like setting an agenda. All participants wants to know what's going on, and you should say it straight. We are looking to appoint a new analyst. We're still fleshing out the exact details and requirements of what we want. Someone passed on your name, a recruiter passed on your CV as a potential candidate, and I'd like to talk to you over a coffee about what you do and what we're looking for. And then it's kind of clear, and everyone attending knows what the chat is about. We're setting a low bar, but the expectations are very clear. My light's gone off. Don't be late, and God, make sure you pay. If you organize the meeting, don't be late and always pick up the bill. I mean, my pet hate as well is when someone who actually organizes the meeting cancels it at the last minute. It's unacceptable, and candidates are not amused. Remember that they are giving up valuable time and often sneaking out of work, or maybe have some nerves or kind of confidential worries that they might be seen, particularly in small areas like the southern suburbs of Cape Town or Sandton or Rosebank or Joburg. You might run into a colleague. These are legitimate worries for candidates. So, first impressions last, especially with sophisticated job seekers and top talent. So 2 coffees are a negligible cost anyway and a critical hire. So make sure you pick up the bill and don't be late. Respect the other person's time. A coffee interview, coffee chat is about 30 to 45 minutes. Cut the small talk. You can, go straight to the point of the meeting. There was a reason you asked for the meeting and accepted the meeting as well, depending on which side of the fence you're on. And so don't beat around the bush. Ask specific questions, point blank. We're looking to hire an analyst. It's a new role in our firm. What advice can you share with us? And we're looking for someone. What do you do in your small firm? What else do you do outside of your core job? It's direct, but it's actually hard for a candidate to avoid those kind of, and you sat at a coffee shop, so you're going to get great advice. Now, for candidates, you also need to prepare for coffee interviews, and here are some tips. Always be prepared, and I really recommend taking a copy of your CV. It's informal for sure, and you might be surprised that the interviewer is ready to hire on the spot. Actually, they might be ready to make a quick decision. So you need to prepare as if it's a formal boardroom interview. The hiring manager is approaching it as a bit of a scoping exercise, but they could be ready to make that quick appointment. And maybe they've met 5 people before you, and you come out and that you smash the ball out the park because they are also crystal clear about what they're looking for to join their firm. And remember that an interviewer is not your friend. I can't emphasize enough. Be careful. Don't become over familiar, and be sure to watch what you say in order to maintain some level of professionalism. and that you would maintain perhaps in a formal interview environment. I personally have met candidates for a coffee. People just get to know each other, have a chat, exactly this kind of thing. And within 5 minutes, some of them start calling me Bud and Bro and Mr. G. I get, and it's entirely male candidates, I might add. Now I'm kind of fine with that, but it's not very professional. And I always leave those meetings going, geez, my first thought is not a positive one. It's not negative, but it's not positive. I just walk away from that meeting and go, like, why would that guy call me bro in the first 5 minutes? Like, he doesn't know me. So it's just a weird one. Don't use that in a business meeting. Don't use it at coffee interviews. And again, there's 30 to 45 minutes or so. So don't spend time yapping about your weekend and your favorite band and cooking classes and stuff like that. There's a level of spirit involved in these sort of meetings, don't get me wrong, but starting with respecting each other's time is kind of front and foremost. Oh, right. Now, ask detailed questions. Don't be afraid to ask detailed questions. The reality is that many coffee interviews are preceded by some sort of vague phone call from someone that you've never met. So someone, as I said earlier, they call you, hey, I got your number, I got your name, someone mentioned you, blah, blah, blah. So, make sure that you have come prepared with detailed questions to a meeting. And they're often obviously held off-site, so make sure that you know where to park, take some cash, don't be shy to ask people sitting by themselves if they are the person that you're there to meet. A courtesy email within 48 hours after that meeting is highly recommended for both sides. And kind of for both parties, both the job seeker or the candidate and the employer. Don't put your phones on the table. Wear some smart clothes. You cannot arrive at a coffee interview from gym in your spandex. It sends the worst possible message. And now, while the meeting lacks some kind of initial detail, it is still a business meeting. Everyone's there in the right spirit. It's going to go great, but there is an amount of preparation.